We're all ashamed of you too. Y'all are so fake. Oh no. The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa. You can make us see it your way. No way. Gasoline and propane. More flames. Oh no. No more snowflakes.
We can all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, that's a real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no. The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa. You can make us see it your way. No way. Gasoline and propane. More flames. Oh no. No more snowflakes.
This is Amária Sweet with HeartMind Expressions and the Fab Four. This evening we've got Sue McClure, AlexSpielman, and Dr. Alex Bloom will be joining us later on. So really quick, I'm going to drop a few shout outs and then we'll get started. So of course we love our amazing Katie Kamara, Dr. Katie Kamara with Soma Fusion. I know that there's been a few things with her health. I'm not going to go into details, but anybody that would like to help out and donating, she's got an upcoming surgery that she needs a little help on. So share the love, guys. Soma Fusion. You can contact any of us and donations are always welcome. Also savvy.com/Soma Fusion. That's savvi.com, Soma Fusion. Now this is our amazing women's fitness wear line for women, of course. Hey, and if you're trans and you like those kind of things too, it's all about your fashion and fitness and whatever you want to feel comfortable in. And we also want to give a shout out to iEvolveTV, as well as C4OC Radio Network and Rev Radio Las Vegas. Lots of love out there, guys. Thanks so much for the support. And Disney.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes, ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on?
Actually, first I want to say
Mickey
happy
Mouse.
April 1st. So, I thought you guys were totally tricking me when you said there's a show that I need to be on today. So I decided to show up anyway. I took a risk.
So happy April Fool.
I don't need an April Fool. We've been living it for the last 2.5 years.
Fair enough.
Lord have
Absolutely.
mercy. Right.
We don't need an April Fool when you live in clown world. Every day is April Fool's Day.
Absolutely.
Anyway, let's talk about the
Speaking
mouse.
of clown world, oh yeah, clown world with the mouse too.
Oh right,
I mean, think about it. Disney is a people trap operated by a mouse.
Ah, that's an interesting thought, right?
I just need a good mouse trap or something like that. So, Alex, what do you want to share about that little dude with the ears that, we grew up thinking that we loved, and now it's like, oh, Lord.
Well, it all goes back to a phrase that Mr. T once said in one of his rallies, right? It went, he was like, all things that go woke don't go broke. They go to shit. And look at what's happening to freaking Disney. They are going down the toilet like I've never seen before. And I am enjoying it every step of the way.
It's kind of like the Hindenburg when it was caught on fire, you just see it slowly descending, crashing.
Some crazy monarch programming in Disney.
Yeah.
I got rid of all my Disney movies. No.
It's like, hey, let's turn on. What happens when I put this match on? The whole building goes whoosh. Anyway.
Listen, what happens when they sing "It's a Small World" after all.
It's going down in the toilet.
Yeah.
Shoot. So for people that aren't familiar with what's been going on with Disney, would you like to enlighten the audience, Alex? I'm not. Are you muted? Oh, Alex, you're muted, sweetheart. Okay, I guess we're having a little technical difficulty here. I don't know.
Even though I was unmuted, I was muted.
Yeah.
How long was I muted?
Just for probably about 30 to 45 interesting seconds, but it's all good.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Let's talk about a little bit of back history before we go into the meats and potatoes of this whole story. If you guys are familiar with what was going down in Florida for the last few weeks, the press was like doing a full card press, full pun intended when it comes to this. They were always talking about, oh, they're going to be doing the Don't Say Gay bill, and they're going to be banning gay speak and all that stuff like that. It was not what it says. That's not what it says. The bill, which has been signed into law as of I think 2 days ago, is called the Parental Rights in Education Law. Long story short, and this is actually kind of exciting because I'm going to be dealing with the Board of Ed, and that's actually part of the platform I want to do. It's basically you don't talk sex to children under the age of 12. I think it's actually older than that, but you can't talk about these things. Which without explicit parental consent.
Good.
Wow! The idea of consent, I mean, wow. Well, like, you know, sex, consent. What is what? When it was this? Why was this not a thing? Why was this not a thing? Yeah. Okay. So apparently Disney was like, oh, we're not going to deal with this now. Press the red button. We're going to do it, Goofy. We're going to go crackers. Anyways.
Oh my God, succotash.
Anyways, so Disney goes, guess what? We're going to go full woke. And so they're like, we're going to introduce more trans characters and stuff like that. Which, by the way, I have no problem with that, as long as it is a natural and organic progression of things.
Right.
This is not. This is clearly an act that is in the face of what DeSantis just signed as a law.
It's a total retaliation move.
On top of that, they just changed one of the most important and most well understood and well respected, or well known, I should say, well known thing about Disney World is when they used to go, boys and girls, so and so is happening here. Right? They're not saying that anymore. They're now just going, hey, friends. Because we can't use boys and girls anymore, because that would be discriminatory towards people who don't identify as such.
Wow.
Once again, Don't Say Gay that's exactly what they're doing. Anyways, so now this is where it gets interesting. This is where Florida goes back to Disney and says, I'm not happy with what you did, but I'm not angry. I'm just very disappointed in you. And wags their finger. Because now they're like, you know what we're going to do? We just may pull a law that was signed in the 60s, 1967 to be exact, which is called the Reedy Creek Improvement Act. Now, what this allowed Disney to do was zone and operate independently of the county in which they operate in. They did not need they didn't have permission from their planning or zoning boards whatsoever. They just built everything by themselves.
Which is pretty scary, just understanding the amount of sex trafficking and stuff that's been going on. Jeez.
Yeah.
No wonder.
On top of the fact that we just had a major bust with Disney, and I think like 5 Disney employees were just arrested for uh,
Jeez.
acts of a sexual nature, which no surprise there. Anywho, so
Disney is flooded with all of that. Anyway, the whole trafficking stuff, especially on their grounds.
so basically, what this means is they're going to have to start paying utilities.
Good.
All right, we're going to be paying because if you think about it, Disney World, and if you do crunch the numbers, they approximately per day would be able to power a house for over 300 years.
Wow.
I think the number is in the ballpark of 40 40,000 megawatt hours, which is massive. Because most people, when they look at these things, they're doing these in kilowatt hours, but they're doing it in megawatt hours, which just shows you how massive it is. But I think this is the best kicker. Now, since they have to be zoned, they have to get permission to zone and plan within their respective counties because Disney World's so big, it's actually in 2 counties. Now,
Wow.
every building has to be inspected to be code. Every
Wow.
building, every tunnel, every tram,
Weren't
every
they
ship.
flooded? I mean, it seems like the White Hats will be flooding tunnels.
Oh, I don't know. All I know is that we're going to be getting some some people from the civic engineering departments to look at Epcot, look at the Animal Kingdom, and not for enjoying the rides, but to see if they're actually safe, to see if they're above board, see if
Good.
there's nothing any structural issues. Um, and guess what? They can be fined for every single infraction.
Oh, darn.
And some of those
Oh,
infractions
bummer.
are pretty price. And on top of that, if that was not bad enough, it gets even worse for Disney because Disney's stock is plummeting. People are pulling out of Disney Plus. They're pulling out of anything related to Disney. They're selling stocks. They're selling their shares, which is
Good.
basically the same thing. They are basically there's a huge boycott and embargo on Disney at this moment, which threatens the integrity of the company at this point.
Well, they've already threatened themselves
Well,
with their own integrity with their behavior, so
yeah.
about
What
time they
happens
get
when you shoot yourself in the
reprimanded.
foot?
You bleed.
Super fun.
Few broken
Yeah,
bones.
it's this is going to take a lot of time and money to repair that reputation at this point because
If it's even repairable
Yeah,
at
I
this
don't
point.
see it's possible because there's already people out there that has seen a lot of Disney's hidden messages, if you will, in movies and television shows and things like that. There's a lot of people who have, waken up to the fact that their agendas are somewhere else, not in by benevolent means.
Some of the old cartoons I was really shocked on, like the Mickey Mouse and the Cheese Factory making Swiss cheese when he was putting his wiener in the cheese to make the holes. I'm like, when
Yeah,
I saw that, I'm like, what are you? Oh my God.
yeah.
And I never caught that kind of stuff when I was a kid, but now I'm like, oh my God, that's really
Yeah.
what there's some shady stuff.
They try to normalize any kind of sexual behavior by
Right.
sneaking it in movies so that over time it just becomes normal. I mean, that's
Monarch
normalizing
programming
something. Yeah.
I mean,
makes sense.
people have been able to find hidden subliminal messages in some of the movies, like for
Yeah.
instance,
And
uh,
you can see on the packages of logos, once you see them, you can't unsee it. Like the
I
Lion
think,
King, the Little Mermaid. You
right.
can look all those things
Lilo and
up.
Stitch. I
And
think
here's the
there is
thing,
a
Walt himself is a 33
yeah.
degree
Oh,
right
true,
Mason.
true. Well,
So that
most of
doesn't help
those
anyone's
people
case
are. Right.
either. I mean, they actually do have, I think, what, 33 Club at their
Oh yeah.
park. So,
Well, I'm looking back at those WikiLeaks the other day that I was passing around again. It's interesting. some of the stuff on there. I looked a little deeper and I'm like, but it even has some Mormon stuff on there, like the full endowment ceremony, which it's a lot of it's really similar to the Masons and what they do, and Catholic priest ceremony, as well as I believe it's the Muslims when they get their Haji thing or however it goes, but
I've
very similar
heard of
stuff. It's kind of creepy.
Oh, by the way, happy Ramadan, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy Ramadan.
Today's the first night, the first day of Ramadan.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, a lot of those. I'm trying to even think rites of passage or even what to call them. Just it's like, wow, interesting. Anyway, so back on
Initiation,
topic.
bathings, things like that.
Yeah, these initiations, or a lot of yikes, weird contractual things. Yeah.
And I think questionable, maybe putting it lightly.
Yeah. I'm glad I got out of all the cult movement things. Not for me.
And I'm part of
Yeah,
a
I
cult.
don't let my daughter do any of the Disney stuff. I would prefer her not to. She is in some of the stuff like Paw Patrol, and that's not helpful either. Nickelodeon's definitely
Yeah.
not helpful either. They actually use a lot of the pedal symbols in their artwork.
True.
Mm.
Ooh, that Flight of the Navigator. You guys remember that movie?
Yeah,
When that ship, the stairs coming down, it had the
yeah,
little boy pedo
Tango.
lover thing.
Yeah,
Yikes.
yeah, it's
There was a time
Oh.
where I was part of a cult. There was no leader, and it advocated to think for yourself.
Oh, nice. Interesting.
If you know, you know.
We should all be thinking for ourselves. I guess, all the conspiracy thing that people want to be afraid of. I guess the thing that really attracted me to the conspiracy type things is people aren't telling me what to think. They're actually encouraging, look it up for yourself. Find out if what I'm saying is true. Otherwise, don't believe me. That's kind of cool. That's really the opposite direction from what you see in most religions and anything really. Like, don't question the narrative. I'm like, excuse me? I don't like that kind of.
or the phrase is, "This is how we've been doing it for X amount, so many odd years."
Right.
That one bothers me.
Yeah. Because really, truly, if you look at scientific method, you should always be questioning things because, we advance in our knowledge based on, how things are working, how we start to understand things. And when we're actually following truths, yeah, things are going to evolve and change because we're learning, oh, well, we were wrong. Oh, I guess we better adjust and, go where the actual evidence is clear.
Yeah, when they stand there and say trust the science, for example, they make it sound like there's a stuck set of answers and you just go with it. And it's really, not a way to
We've got
go.
to be question everything and really get into your questions, start thinking about it and getting deep to where even you're going, whoa, mind blown. Because it'll happen when you really start thinking.
Yeah, speaking of questions, I mean, Disney runs quite a lot of the networks and stuff, correct? So it makes you wonder how many other networks are going to fall with all of this. It's kind of like a wing around the rosy sort of thing.
Kind of be nice if everything just does and crashes so people can see, oh, crap. That was true. We should be, thinking more for ourselves. And yeah, there's some weird. I don't even watch the news anymore because to me, it's just the way they talk. It's so it's almost like scratching a chalkboard anymore. Just if I hear any kind of news anchor, they always talk the same. And it's this weird monotone type voice. And well, tonight on the news, what the hell? Stop it.
Yeah, if I watch any news, it's OAN and Right Side at the moment. If I get any I do recommend those if you guys want to kind of get an update of what's going on. Otherwise, X-22 report, Dave is pretty
They've
good.
got some good stuff on there.
Yeah. Um,
I
but
like STEW Peters. He's really cool. I know he's banned on some platforms for what? Telling the truth. But he interviews a lot of really amazing physicians, scientists. I think they've got some pathologists and things that actually do a lot of very deep research. And they've got thousands and thousands of reviews, like basically looking at so many points of information, which it's like, okay, if something that's actually being studied and researched is being shadow banned, kind of makes me want to go towards that rather than, oh, well, if they're going to be banned, I'm going to stay away from it. Like, no, well, how come they're being banned? I want to see, where's the money trail? Where's the information coming from and going to, and more questions to ponder.
it's kind of interesting. The community guidelines are so flimsy because it doesn't matter what platform you're on. The whole thing about community guidelines is totally because it's you can literally not violate absolutely anything about it, and they'll still toss you off just because of what you said or did. It's all over Facebook.
Jail again.
Oh my gosh, I've been in jail. I've had my accounts taken down. And I don't put nudity up and whatever else.
Right.
That I don't put any hurtful content. I'm sorry. The idea of hurtful content is when I hurt their feelings because of calling them liars. I guess that's what they're referring to.
Well, I had mentioned how there was a specific person that had interacted with several of us that we have memories from Montauk. And it was totally unrelated to the other pedophiles I was talking about. But I just mentioned that hearing this person's voice, it was so triggering that I wanted to do this to the throat. And, I was just like, that just makes me want to do that. But I wouldn't, and they were like, you violated standards. And like, what the holy cow? So they can have videos up and, do their little thing and make themselves be like, oh, I'm the victim and I was forced to do this or whatever. And like, but the people that have been victimized say anything and they're banned.
Yeah, they're allowed all kinds of there's a lot of social media platforms have topics that are unsavory and ethical that are allowed to be up, and the stuff that we do is not. So it's double standards.
It was kind of funny just how the Fresh Prince thing happened to line up with that particular one because it wasn't even related, but I was like, hey, this kind of works.
My life slipped upside down.
That whole thing. Oh Lord. That's funny. So shoot. Well, hopefully Dr. Bloom will be able to join us. I know we're kind of delaying a little bit of discussion just because we want him here. Excuse me. Just some of the stuff I've been pondering, writing around. I saw a video about NPCs or non-player characters, just kind of going into the Matrix thing on our reality. Of course, the CIA has documents that are talking about how our reality is a type of generated matrix on our planet. And our reality is so construed that with like Project Bluebeam, for instance, is one of the technologies that we have where it's a holographic type image, but it's not just something that you can see. It's something that you can smell, you can touch, you can taste. Like all of your senses can tap into these types of holographic portrayals or these matrix images, including these NPCs, which are the non-player characters. And so you could think that you're actually talking with, associating with, maybe even having relationships with people when they're not even like a soul-based entity like we are. And in this video, this young man was talking to his colleague that he had been friends with for the past 5 years. And he was like, oh man, I got this song stuck in my head. And she's like, what do you mean you have a song stuck in your head? And he's all, you're kidding, right? She said, no. He's like, wait, you don't ever have like things that get stuck in your head, kind of like a looping in your head, or maybe you have an inner dialogue. And she's all, no, I never have that. And then it just kind of zooms into a separate video where he's like, whoa, I've heard of this, the NPC thing, but really, like, think about it. If you don't have a dialogue, inner dialogue, because as human beings, we're always processing something. Our mind has these little windows maybe that we have open. If you think of like a computer, you can have several different windows open, and those things are processing and lining up. And you know how it goes, you'll get a song stuck in your head and you're like, oh, this is so annoying. And I'm like, wow, I never thought about that. And that's really something I've been thinking about. Like, what really is an NPC? Like, what is it made of? Are they actually born like a person, but they just don't have a soul? Are they created? Like, we have all these characters. It's kind of like in a video game. And even the CIA documents talk about this, how like it looks like there's all these people and they've got maybe homes and their vehicles and their recreations and their jobs that they do. But it's almost like this, it's not happening, but it is. How? And it's so deep. It's like my mind's been going, whoa, 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 whoa. How does this work? Like they can't have an inner dialogue. They don't have things like they can't get a song stuck in their head. It's just like a program that's running. And this guy was talking about from this video, he's like, if you ask something to these non-player characters or the NPCs that's not within their programming, it causes them to glitch. And so I'm like, oh, kind of makes me want to talk to these people, these NPCs, and find them and be like,
You know,
let's have a deep conversation.
you know, you know, you know. Funny enough, this actually reminds me of something from Blade Runner, actually.
Oh, really? What's that?
Blade Runner.
Well, I mean,
So
it's been like a
in
long
the
time since I've
movie,
seen it.
so in Blade Runner, there is they deal with androids, right?
Right.
But they are very, very familiar. They look very similar to humans, and these android things are called replicants. So they look like humans, they act like them, they can do things very similar to that, and in order to determine if a person is human or a replicant, they use something called the Voight-Kampff test. And the Voight-Kampff test is just a whole bunch of paradoxes. Because their logic is that a person, it deals with paradoxes and moral quandaries. The logic in the story is that a replicant, or in this case, a non-playable character, does not understand the gravity of moral weight.
True.
It's like for example, I'll give an example of one of these tests if you want me to.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for
Go
it.
for it.
1 sec. Let me just pull it up real quickly.
Yeah, this is just a subject that I find so fascinating. Like,
well,
the
Well,
difference
sorry,
between
go
an
ahead.
actual, because really, if you think about it, we are light beings in a human body, or this meat suit or flesh suit or whatever you want to call it, corporal entity. And so it's like we're connected with our physical self. That's where you think of the mind, body, spirit. And so, I mean, we use all three of those things, but the NPC, if it doesn't really have much of a mind or a spirit, and it's just a body running a program in the mind, that's two things totally taken out, or two of those things that are just partially working. Like the body's functioning, but if there's no soul, and really the mind only has a list of actions or programmings, it'd be interesting to see some of these NPCs start really glitching.
Well, actually,
found-
we do
kind of
see
found one quite
sometimes
interesting.
we see them doing it on the news. Some of the anchors and the people that are on the news, and some of the people on TV. You actually notice that a real person will use hand gestures when they talk. They twitch, they slouch,
Oh,
they,
yeah.
there's little things. They mess with their watches or the bracelets on their wrist while they're talking and stuff. Those are the real people. When you sit there and see them basically in perfect posture, they're looking straight ahead. There's almost nothing except the duty of what they need to say and to speak. There's not so much to it. They're not
That
looking a
makes
little bit
sense.
because some of them may look straight ahead, but sometimes you see them looking to the left and the right for a second because maybe somebody off stage or off camera, gestured to
Right.
them or something. Then they're real people. Androids ignore these little things that goes on in the room and just do exactly what the programmed to do. So
Oh,
sometimes they're bots and clones, will do that.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if he's an NPC or what is up with this guy, but there's this preacher guy. I think one of our friends, River, I'll just call her that. That's one of her nicknames. She had posted a video of that preacher standing outside of his limo, and his eyelid is so trippy because it's almost like it's this hood instead of an actual freaking eyelid. I'm like, ew, what the ew. And he's talking about all the money that he gets from, I guess some of it's from his church and some of it's from whatever stocks he has, like, or whatever it goes on. And he's so creepy. It's like there's no soul there. But I'm like, what is
Lights
he?
on, but no one's home.
Yeah.
It's so
The
trippy.
wheel
I
turning's
mean,
the hamster's dead kind of thing. So yeah, when
well,
you
and
see those
a lot of
sort
us,
of behaviors, yeah.
a lot of us are familiar that have actually done some research on basically using the technology like the Matrix, like holographic technology to disguise, like if they're more of a reptoid type being or insectoid type being that don't really look very human. And so I'm like wondering, is it an actual mask that they have? Is it a digitized thing? Because with that weird eyelid, he's so creepy.
By the way, I found the question. I found one of the questions in the voice
nice.
contest.
Mm.
So, it's a kind of a prompt. It's open ended, right? So it goes like this: You're in a desert, walking along in the sand, when suddenly you look down and you see a tortoise. It's crawling towards you, reaching down, and you flip the tortoise over on its back. The tortoise lays on its back, and its belly is baking in the sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it can't without your help. The question is, you're not helping. Why aren't you helping?
Interesting. So like the NPC or the being that's not the human.
Why would you
probably
flip it on
could
his
use-
back in the first place?
I know. It's like, why would you do that? That's really cruel.
Yeah.
Kind of like seeing that little critter. There's another video of a girl like, oh, it's okay. And this little critter's like freaking out. And I'm like, that poor little thing is so scared. Why would you keep scaring it? Stop it.
Yeah, it's when people will do cool things to animals.
Like why would you flip it over in the first place?
Yeah.
And then
that's
if
my
it's
first
struggling,
question.
like flip it over, help
Yeah,
it.
flip it back. I mean, that's what I
And
would do. But I
or
wouldn't have flipped
like,
it over in the first place.
right. Maybe if you find it flipped, flip it over and then maybe
Yeah.
try to find a water
No,
source so it can
you
get a
you were the
drink.
one who did it, and you're allowing it to continue. The question is, why are you not? Why are you not helping this helpless reptile at this point?
Maybe it would be, so say for instance I flipped it over.
Yeah.
Maybe I was curious, oh, can it really flip itself back over? I've heard that they can't, so this is my little test and I'm watching it for a little while like, that sucks. I guess it can't. Then maybe it would be my own gnosis and actually experiencing it not flipping over, but then I would eventually help it. I mean, I wouldn't want to leave it there to die and suffer. That would be horrible.
Yep. And one of the thoughts I had for this question, this quandary, was that thing is food. I'm hungry. I'm in the desert. I'm going to find the easiest way to cook it. So I'm letting it bake in the sun while it's helpless.
I'd want to kill it first if I was gonna use it as a food
Yeah.
source, though. Like at least crush its head, or I mean, it sounds
Maybe,
horrible if anyone's like, "Don't kill an animal,
maybe,
eat it." But if
well,
I was gonna,
maybe I'm cooking it because I'm more sadistic. I like to see suffering.
I guess that would be one logical answer if that was part of
It
your
is, but
personality.
so
That's
here's the
definitely an
thing.
AI answer.
I would definitely want to put it out of its misery if it was the only food
Yeah,
source
it's going
that
to
I
be
knew of.
food. Yeah.
I would definitely want to kill it before I let it just suffer and bake to death. That would, oh,
Mm.
it's horrible.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
so
awful.
so here's the conclusion of this whole thing. If you are human, you would be able to answer it in some shape or form.
Okay.
If you were a reploid, or would be a replicant, you would not be able to actually gauge it, and you're going to avoid the question altogether. So in the
Okay.
movie, for
Okay.
example, in the movie, when this question is posed to a replicant, they first go, "Why would I do that? I like turtles. There's no reason I would do that." You're like, and the guy keeps on pressing the replicant, saying, "You did it. Why did you do it? What will cause you to do that?" And it's just the pressure of the fact that you're forcing something that doesn't
Okay.
understand moral and ethics to try to deal with moral and ethics. They cannot compromise. They cannot understand that. They do not have that inner dialogue. They do not have the light in their head. That they don't have a soul, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't
So kind
understand
of
the
that
gravity.
NPC thing.
So they're
Exactly.
just stumbling when you present them these questions. They just sort of either move on to the next subject, or do they?
They tend to avoid it
That
altogether.
makes
Okay.
sense. I think I have
Wow.
met some NPCs then, because there's been times I've been in discussion with someone or tried to, and it's almost like that. Like you'll ask a question and it's like, why would I do that? And then they try to avoid it. But I never thought of it that way. But like
Yeah.
the way you're doing, you're pushing me. It's like, but you did it. So then I'm like, okay, so say I did it. So then I'm toying with it, or I'm like, all right, I'll humor this. I'll go into, okay, I did it. Why would I do it?
Now
So
you
That's
have
this makes
interesting.
at this point you have to give
sense.
you have to give you have to you have to consider that now you have to make a motive for it.
Yeah,
Even
true.
though you are going to defend yourself, well, in this case you can't defend yourself because in this scenario you have done it. Why have you done it? What is your motivation? What drives you to do it in the first place?
Interesting. I like that. That kind of
Wow.
it pushes you to really go past your boundaries and really, really think about what is it that you're doing? Why would you have done it? And even if it's something that you might not really truly do, put yourself in that place like you did it anyway.
So another response that is usually used for like an NPC or if we want to use that term is I don't know. I can't put myself in that situation. That's a common response.
That's
That
kind of like
sounds
that
almost how
girl.
Microsoft talks.
Oh, and
The
it's kind of like that
Microsoft
girl in that
programs.
video where she's
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, I don't have it any, like I don't know what you're talking like
Exactly.
hmm,
See?
like the music stuck in
Wow.
your head. At least we know we all get songs stuck in our head.
Oh my god. I
Woo-hoo-hoo!
had, a, I had one song the other day. It was one of those things where it was actually I found that the song was actually from a movie clip, and so I found the clip. But it was just I was just repeating like two words back and forth for a while
God, yeah.
I don't know. I've been having that lately too.
I
The
got one in
song
my
stuck
head
in my
today.
head. The song Deo.
Stay, stay,
Yeah.
Oh, Pompeii.
Oh.
Does that mean you're talking about the song Pompeii? Pompeii? But
I don't know. I cannot give you an answer.
It almost makes me want to learn like some of like today that I'm trying to even remember now because there's other songs that have finally kicked it out. But I had one that when I was playing disc golf that kept going and it was just a few words. And I'm like, God, I almost want to memorize this fucking song. So it's not the one little piece going just play the song.
there was a song that I remember. It was like uh, it was just the chorus of the song, so it didn't actually have any words in it. Eventually, I found out the name of the song was Tom Sawyer by Rush.
Oh, that's
But
funny. Oh, now
and
that
then
song's gonna get stuck in my head.
it's a good. It's when it was good 80s rock.
That's so funny.
It's
But
actually the annoyance of when you get a song in your head and you don't remember certain spots into it.
And
And
so
you
your
just-
mind is almost trying to replicate
Yeah.
the whole song to just get the damn thing through.
Yeah, I have that a lot. And now I have to stand there.
But that-
But the annoying part is I don't remember the name of the song in
Oh,
order to be able to look it up to find out what the lyrics are to it.
I
So
just
it's
kept thinking,
it can get pretty
listen,
annoying.
one of the ways I've learned to get rid of it is I will go on to say like YouTube, or I'll go on to like
Oh, nice.
Google or something like that, and I'll just type in what I know, and I'll let the search engine do its magic.
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
And then usually I'll be like, oh, it was this song with these lyrics highlighted in the song. Like,
Yeah.
oh, there you go.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I kept having to think, okay, what do I hear? Oh, there's the breeze. I can hear somebody's wind chimes. Yay, I can hear cars. There's a bird. There's a whole bunch of birds. You know, it's just like, get it out of my head. Do something
Yeah.
else.
It's like code 404. Item does not exist nor has ever existed. It's like, can I compute? Can I compute?
Right?
But this is exactly what we're dealing with. That's exactly what we're dealing with. This idea of the inner dialogue is kind of like the narrator of your story, if you will. You have your
Right.
own story.
We're
and that
trying to
narrator,
process.
exactly. It's now that you don't have the narrator, how does your story go on?
Right.
Do you guys ever have a theme song playing or something when you like achieve something like really like, ooh, I finally got it, I nailed it. You know, like you achieve something big, or when you go walk into a room, you know, you kind of feel like you got the song playing. Like how you do
Sometimes.
that slow mo when they walk, like, you know.
I did
One of
it. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
one of the songs I like that I will have playing in my head from time to time. If you guys are if there's some wrestling fans out there, it's the theme song for Extreme Championship Wrestling.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh.
I haven't watched wrestling in so many years. I used to watch that when I was younger. That's
It was
so funny.
it's just like the most like just blood pumping music you'll ever hear.
That's so funny.
Now
my
I'm not I can't play the music because obviously it's copyrighted. So, but I can definitely I can definitely share it with you guys elsewhere, but I can't play it on air for like obvious reasons.
Nice.
And there's no fair use in this situation.
True. Well, I mean, I guess we've definitely hit the subject of NPCs and inner dialogues and songs getting stuck in your head and looping things. Let's go ahead and I mean, I know that Dr. Bloom's not here, but why don't we go ahead and get into these predictions and kind of talk about basically how a lot of deception's been happening. It does tie into the NPC thing and this Project Bluebeam and the Matrix, and basically just what's before us, what's actually there, what's real, and how things work.
Yeah, I actually wanted to get into this topic because we have been so used to seeing things get predicted on television, and we don't step back and say, wait a minute, how do you know that this is going to happen? Now, there's some things that are predictable, you know, or some things you can kind of forecast it a little bit ahead of time, and weather would be one of them, correct? Can you guys name some other things that can be somewhat predicted? You know,
I think
besides the weather, that's normal.
In a way, our health, but you have to be thinking, okay, why can I predict something in my health? You know, is it because I'm taking different medications or taking or not taking nutrients that my body needs? Am I eating healthy? Or is my body acidic because maybe I have too much sugar in my diet or too many nitrates or chemicals or whatever. And so you could predict, oh, if I have all that shit in my body that's bad for me, then I'm probably going to start taking a plummet for the worst and getting disease. Or if I'm eating the way I should, maybe I should be pretty balanced, even though maybe I've got a health condition or some genetic whatever or predisposition to something. Maybe there's that, because we always have ebbs and flows. And so I think from there we can decide, I had one too many the other night, so I'm probably going to feel like shit tomorrow. So there's some predictions there.
Yeah, or if you know somebody really well, you know how they're going to react to a certain situation or
Right.
whatever, things like that. But when it comes to talking about medical stuff that no one's ever thinking about, but somehow they are, the people on the news or whatever, the people part of the programming out of the blue will discuss something medical out of the blue that no one has ever thought about, but they bring it up and they say it's going to happen, or a particular disastrous technological, like blackouts. Is somebody going to go to war? They're going to shoot something. They're going to, where are you getting this information?
Right,
And I just
exactly.
believe that if you're predicting it, you basically just told us that either you're behind it or somebody who is. And I just wanted to kind of bring that up because a lot of people are so used to hearing predictions and they don't sit back and wonder where's this information coming from. How do you know this? How do you know that there's going to be a sickness going to float around? How do you know when the next one's coming? And how do you know how bad it's going to be? How do you know, someone's going to press the red button? How do you know that someone, in a war? How do you know that there's going to be a specific type of attack? How do you know the specific attack's going to happen? For all we know, it's going to be cloudy with a chance of meatballs,
Right.
So, so these are just some of the things that I think that we should think about,
Very good
and
question.
the stuff that's going on right now. They're talking about the blackouts. They're talking about the stuff that's going on around the world and things like that. And they're talking about food shortage. They're talking about these things. And I'm like, how do you guys know? Unless
Well, I
you're
know
behind
we
it.
had yesterday, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, that there was an X-class solar flare. Stuff like that does affect our electronics and our bodies, but we haven't had that big solar flash that a lot of people predict, and if and when it happens, we don't know what's going to happen or if it's going to be like an EMP or not. But yeah, it's interesting. All of a sudden, there's myocarditis all over the news for children. Children don't have heart problems.
Well, they
And
actually
so,
talked about it beforehand too. The World Economic Forum has been bringing up all kinds of subjects. Klaus Schwab, it has been naming a bunch of stuff that are predictions. I'm like, how do you know these things?
Well, I mean, and there is and if you remember, they would normally do a lot of these they'll do like these LARP scenarios.
yeah.
Like for instance, before we went into the pandemic, they did one the year prior, and it was called Event 201. And the scenario for this was that there was a worldwide pandemic that was shutting down, and it shut down the whole world economy. What happened? That exact same thing. Back in August of last year, they had another one of these events. This thing was called Cyber Polygon. And it was all about a massive cyber attack that would cripple the world's economy and the cyber infrastructure of the world. What is the one thing that everybody is talking about in politics? Cybersecurity and cyber attacks. That is the one thing they keep on talking about. And you hear Klaus Schwab talking about a cyber pandemic. Why?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder.
Are they going to cause it? So,
No, but here's the thing, right? If you wanted to cause, say, a cyber pandemic, you don't need to knock out the entire grid. You only need to hit one or two key places, and everybody's reeling from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like let's say,
It's kind of like the Christmas lights.
yeah,
You pull a couple of those bulbs
Oh,
and,
it's like, for example, I'm just using this as an example. I'm not saying I'm going to do this. It's just an example, a hypothetical situation. Let's say let's say I want to really rustle up the world of the American economy, right?
Mhm.
All I got to do is cyber attack several banks, financial institutions. Say, let's say hypothetically, you do a cyber attack on uh, Chase, Chase Bank, or you do it to Bank of America, or heaven forbid, are able to deal with things in the government where you're able to cyber attack that, just like what we saw in Israel not that long ago, where they had a massive cyber attack over there.
Right.
All you need is a few places, and all of a sudden the lights turn out, and there's nothing you can do about it.
True.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Dr.
hey,
Moon.
Alex.
Alex, how are you doing? So we've been talking about predictions and a little bit about how recent predictions have been taking place on certain health issues that recent,
Yeah.
and then hypothetically cyber attacks that Alex.
Yeah, we were actually talking about the whole thing about, how can you predict certain things, out of the blue? There's things that are predictable, like I was mentioning weather, that's predictable. There maybe if you know somebody really well and they're going to do something because it causes an effects and things like that, those things are predictable. But if you're just going to wake up one morning and announce to the whole world, that there's going to be a certain illness going to be floating around, or there's going to be a cyber attack floating around, or there's going to be food shortage or something. Where are you getting that information unless you are behind it? So that's what we are talking about right now. And what's like your take on that, Alex?
Well, I think there's been a certain Team 17 movement that's done a lot of predictions in a lot of different ways. So many different layers with that, to the point that it makes you wonder if there's time travel technology to the day. You know what I mean? Several years later.
Well,
So
and then the looking glass technology that,
exactly,
of
that's
course,
right.
you
Yeah.
guys talked about all of the stuff that's been declassed from the different secret military programs.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
we've got some technology out there that's at least 2,500 years advanced from what we've been using currently, as opposed to, shit. I mean, they
Yeah,
I
we
like
had
to
a
have
lot
some
of
of that
stuff withheld.
shit.
But to
Right.
announce these things on the news like that, like from Klaus Schwab, from other people that are from the swamp, and they're just announcing it to us. So
Yep.
like
You
they're
guys
up to
know Peter
something.
Moon? Have you heard that name before?
Which one?
Peter Moon. He's
I
a
think
he's
it
a
sounds vaguely familiar. Do you want to
publisher,
go ahead? Oh, okay.
and he wrote a book called The Montauk Project.
Oh, okay.
He wrote another one called Transylvania Sunrise, which I highly recommend. And anyway, he had interviewed someone who, and then later he himself had gone to these caves, these tunnels inside of Romania, in Transylvania, where there was a Sphinx. And underneath, long story short, the author was able to then go to this Hall of Records, and he could put his hand on this certain technology, and it would show his DNA. And the closer that he put his hand, then he could see into his molecules and then his atoms.
That's
And
so cool.
Wow.
I
yeah,
want to look.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I just watched an interview with Michael Sala, where he was interviewing this Peter Moon, who's not the author, but he's the publisher and the editor.
Okay.
And
I think Penny Bradley's talked with him too.
yeah, I'd read the book years ago, but it was absolutely fascinating. And then you stand on this, what would you say, like a pedestal, kind of like a thing, and there's a projection, like a holographic projection, and it shows you the history of Earth.
That's so
And
cool.
it showed like Jesus, except that there were like aliens basically among Jesus, that people from all
Right.
these different galaxies had come, and just all the hidden histories. And this is what you hear about in the Sphinx, right? Under the Sphinx is a Hall of Records. Well, in this chamber were all of these subterranean tunnels that went upward to different parts of the Earth. And it went to like Shangri-La in Asia, like in Tibet, and it had the Sphinx, and it had, I think, Shasta, and there were several others, I don't remember.
Oh, nice.
And there was one that went to like Inner Earth, and that's just the tip of the
Major energy points of the planet.
right? So
Really
you
cool.
have that from like very, very ancient technology. And then you have kind of more recent suppressed tech in terms of time travel. So there, it reminds me of one of my most favorite memes. And it said, eventually the world is going to say, when like the end of the world is coming, like, if you don't know what's going on, ask your nearest conspiracy theorist and they'll be able to fill you in, you know?
Yeah.
So we've all been researching about it for years, right? So,
Yeah.
their electrical grid right now, they're saying that there's a solar flare that's coming. So don't be surprised if at some point, even if temporarily, the internet goes down, you get brownouts with electricity. Make sure that you have at least a week to 2 weeks of food. I don't really know
That
about,
X-class flare that started about a day or two ago. I think
yeah,
it was supposedly hitting the Americas either this morning or yesterday. I mean, I noticed I've been really tired, even more so than
Yeah.
usual.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, have you noticed, kind of piggybacking on that, not just tired, but like drama around you, of like just chaos going on and, you know, feeling fatigued as well. But just, I've just noticed there's been like like a meltdown of everyone going through something big, like a huge hiccup, you know, and
A few people actually, yeah.
it makes me wonder, like, is there something astrologically going on? We need your sister back on.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Desiree, listen to the show. Hey, come on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we may have to talk about that. Have a drama episode there. Yeah, it's just that I've noticed that it's like everything is kind of just, if you want to look at it like a pulse grid, you know, where things are just kind of just going with a little bit of bumps going on, you know, it's like a line and it's just a little bit of bumps. That's normal everyday life. And then all of a sudden you see something go way up and then come way back down,
Exactly.
you know, and then it starts pulsing again. So within the last 48 to 72 hours, I've been experiencing, you know, stuff that I never expected to experience. And it's just that, yeah, drama. It's almost like somebody kicked open a Pandora's box or something and unleashed
I notice
something.
I feel a little bit
Exactly.
blue lately. Like I miss my sweetheart because he's been out of town and working because he works in another state. But just like I'm like, oh, I really miss him today. And it's like usually I'm pretty strong and I'm like, you know, he'll be home in a couple days. But I'm like, I was really thinking about it. I'm like, I actually cried. Like I really miss him. And I'm like, dang, what the heck? I'm not usually like all So yeah, that makes a lot of sense on the energy thing.
Yeah. I haven't checked the what's it called? The
Human?
Truman lately. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that's.
It's been pretty crazy. I think it was
It's
46
been lighting up like crazy.
Yeah, really
For the last 72 hours, especially yesterday, I believe, and the day before, especially
we're getting
those
some
2
major
days, it's been
Ooh.
literally lit up like crazy.
It's
So
been active.
there's
I'm looking at it right now. I'm
yeah,
looking at it right now. There's a lot of greens, a lot of whites.
there was a lot
It
of
looks like
whites
it's
and
spiking.
yellows.
Yeah.
It looks like it's spiking as we speak.
Okay, I feel
There's a lot
tired,
of
but it's funny.
there's a bunch of what
I haven't wanted
a bunch
to
of
eat
white right now. It's white at the moment.
Do you guys notice when they spike or like a lot of the high energy lately? Like it's like all I want to do is drink liquids and take supplements and like I made a smoothie for dinner. That's all I wanted. I didn't want any food.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm same thing.
I've been having a desire to try to eat more healthy for some reason.
Yeah.
Just a big
So
push.
have I.
Yeah,
and I don't see myself wanting all the horrible stuff. And I know that I've noticed that the couple days before I was getting horrible munchies, and then it just flipped out of the blue.
Yeah, I really have not had
I don't know how I haven't had a craving for horrible munchies before.
Hungry.
Not weird.
Today.
Yeah, I normally don't. I normally eat well, healthy well. And then out of the blue, I was craving stuff I hadn't eaten in over like 6 years. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, I was craving it and I was eating it. I thought maybe if I eat it, it'll shut up and leave me alone, you know? And I guess it kind of did. And then after that, I was like, oh my God, it's like, man, this is gross. It makes me want to take a shower, except on the inside, And now I'm stuffing salads down my throat to kind of get rid of it. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to need, the medicines and stuff that starts with an I and a B, that we're not
Right.
supposed to talk about. I was taking that just to make sure there weren't any worms with it and stuff like that. And I was like, it's just like literally, it's like trying to wash the mud off of you from the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
So
have you guys been like mega detoxing? Because like
Yeah.
today I'm better. I've had a lot of
yeah.
BMs that cleared, but holy crap,
Yeah,
my
I like
farts have been
automatic.
like
Yeah,
so
just
rank.
like my body is trying to get rid
Why?
of
Oh
something.
my
I think
god.
that is what the upgrading mean. I think when
Right.
you upgrade,
Okay.
I noticed that when you upgrade, I know that your body, which is almost like how when animals molt, they shed
Okay.
that skin.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So we're shedding whatever it is on the inside
Shedding,
instead of
shitting.
you're shedding a lot of the stuff that's on the inside. I got you, sis Amaria, I got you. But um, but we are shedding a lot of stuff that's on the
Right.
inside, and our bodies
Well,
basically
eventually.
we don't need that anymore. And eventually, it's going to come to the point where it says, "I will not function with that anymore," so it's not needed. And every time we upgrade, it basically says that to us. Our bodies will say that.
And
Mhm.
I'm wondering if some of the energy that people are getting is kind of that emotional shedding too. Because
Yeah.
like if we have any energies that maybe we've suppressed or aren't dealing with like we should flowing more,
And I
then
think that's why
they're
people are making decisions that they normally don't make on a day-to-day basis,
Mhm.
and that's what's causing some of the drama.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
right,
You
kind of
wonder.
that emotional purge.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that we know that are, doing emotional purges that we've all kind of talked
Mm,
amongst each other and we've been seeing it, you
Mm.
know, and I've actually seen it, with my family members, there's this behaviors that you normally don't see on
Yeah.
a normal day.
yeah.
So
I've seen that with
yeah.
some people that are close to me in my life that have had some real breakdowns, and
Mm.
it's kind of heartbreaking, but there's not a lot you can do except just be there, hold their hand and just remind them, just breathe, that you can get through this. It sucks right now, but in one way or another, you're purging.
Yeah.
Yeah, upgrading.
It's all, yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's all upgrading. That's right.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
So, what is do you have any idea? I mean, everybody's different, so I guess there's really no way to answer this. But just for the fun of it, any idea what the finished product is somewhat supposed to look like? Not that there is such thing as a finished project, because we're always changing, just like the universe is. But does it mean that we eventually change into, like, that we don't, because I don't know, when I was growing up, I could not relate to Earth already as it is. I just
Right.
could not relate to the topics people talk about. I could not relate, like, styles,
Kind of
trends.
feeling like an
Yeah,
outcast.
literally. I just like,
Because we're
why
star
did you put
seeds.
me here? I know. Like, why did you put me here? I literally, you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole kind of thing. It's not working. And it just causes so much trouble during my school year. And
Oh
now
yeah.
here we are, and we're all together. I fit well when we're all together, but then we all have to break apart and be a part of the 3D world and either do our jobs and commerce with the other peoples and things like that. And it's like uncomfortable.
It's interesting. The more inner shadow work, I guess I could say, and I've done some Hoffman process, some QHHT, other hypnotherapy stuff, as well as NLP and things. Um, Really interesting that I'm actually functioning better now in the 3D world than I used to. I don't have the anxiety I did because it's almost like I've shed enough of the shit that was traumatizing me that it just doesn't trigger me anymore. And so I can function like where I work as a cook. I actually was really impressed with myself the other day. We were slammed yesterday, hardcore, and I was able to take the grill station and what we call our Southwest station, where we make like our salads and wraps and things. And my average time was about 17 minutes.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
usually when
17.
we're like bam, 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 and we've got like, we've got 6 in or 12 in or whatever. I'm just like, I need help. Can someone take this station? I was just like, okay, time, bam, I'm gonna drop these burgers. Okay, I've got this one I gotta do. I got this thing. And I was just like back and forth and watching the times. And I was able to keep track and multitask, which I've not been able to do in years. But it's like my mind has been able to make those pathways enough now that I feel like I'm functioning better. And it's just like that must be like what you're saying, those upgrades. Like
Yeah.
the more we shed and the more that we cleanse and actually deal with, okay, here's a trauma before me and this sucks right now, but I'm acknowledging. And like with the Hoffman process, what I've been doing is like I'll go into it to the point of, okay, this person has been triggering me for some reason and I've allowed this. Why don't I go to walk into their moccasins? And it's like I put myself next to them in my mind, inner dialogue, like we're both children. I'll just say, tell me about how come you started acting this way? Why did you start treating me this way? Or, who treated you so badly? Or just tell me about you growing up. And it's like they open up and I'm like, oh, I get this understanding. And then it's like the judgment side or that agitation victim side of, well, they did this and it's offended me and I'm triggered. It's like it goes away and I have this compassion and like, wow, they must have really had a shitty childhood to be treated that way, that's the only way that they can respond or react to me whenever my behavior they find triggering, because it totally conflicts with their belief systems. And being able to actually evolve from that to a more compassionate understanding, it's like it almost is like these blocks just break through. And so the 3D world now, like I totally function fine. I love it. Actually, it's kind of a challenge and it's fun.
And haven't you noticed that like people are waking up in droves? Like,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I have like sleepers in my life who usually would get mad whenever I bring anything up, and all of a sudden,
Right.
I'm scaling back because I'm like, you know what, I'm done trying to help you, whether if it's a family member, a friend, or whomever. Like, if you wake up, then you're going to wake up, and
The
I know
questions they're
we've all
asking
been
are
through that, but
so
they're deep, and they're like, okay, things are really not making sense. Why? Because like 17 said, sometimes you can't tell the people, you have to show the people.
to
And so
show
that's
them.
happening, right? With the gas hike and the Rona going away magically, and who knows what, the flip flop in terms of Ukraine and what's going on there,
Right.
in terms of inflation, in terms of the border. I mean, the list goes on, right? And so going back to like Sue's point, really what's happening here with our bodies is we are all, as we're all doing, everything is about vibration, right? You're going to hear the same
Right.
thing from me over and over and over again. So that's what's going on in terms of how we manifest. That's what's going on in terms of us getting closer to 5D. And that's what's going on even in our bodies. And so, like Amária, what you were saying of like working through the traumas, we're needing to do that because we're having to purge this old, dank, stale, traumatic energy. And
Right.
when we do that, it's like we're cutting off anchors, and it's allowing us to feel lighter and vibrate on a higher frequency. And then
Yeah.
I've noticed this too. And so as Victoria, my fiance, that like we don't have a desire to eat as much red meat or like
Yep.
heavy foods, because as you vibrate on a higher frequency, you're not needing as much. And I'm not even needing as much food, like the amount
Right.
of calories that I'm eating, and I'm fasting for longer and not even second
You
guessing
don't
it.
even notice it. It's
Yeah.
almost like you just feel satisfied. Like I just want to drink a lot. Like
Yeah.
I'll have
Yeah.
tea most of the day when I'm working at work, which working in a restaurant, you think I would be like, well, I'm going to take this big half-hour break and eat this big meal, but I don't even feel like I need it. Sometimes I'll just get a salad at the end of the day because it's offered, and I'll take it home and share it with my kids. I'm like, oh, what can we put with this salad, guys?
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And we're also becoming more crystalline. So if you
Right.
notice, I noticed like on the palm of my hand and some other areas, it's shinier. There's like a shine or a shimmer, and that's an
Oh, yeah.
indication that our DNA is shifting, and that
Interesting.
we're moving to more of more DNA strands kind of coming online for us, right? That have just been dormant and really hidden, suppressed from us for a
Well,
long
I've
time.
been taking some silica the past 2
Good.
weeks,
There
which
you
I've
go.
noticed it feels
That'll help. Yep.
a lot better.
Absolutely. That's a
Yeah.
big one. Any sort of supplements that you can take. Sue, what's the one that we take that zeolite?
Yeah,
That's
zeolite.
a really good
Oh,
one.
okay, okay.
Getting a lot of like
Yeah.
heavy metals out,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
and
That's a really good one.
in terms of like fast forwarding of what's going to happen to us, I kind of wonder, as I think out loud here, like once we're able to kind of travel to different planets and star systems and whatnot, like we're going to be dealing with different laws of physics, different forms of
Yeah.
gravity. And so it makes us wonder, it makes me wonder at least, that like, what does that mean? Like when you see people on the moon, like they're able to like, bounce because gravity's different. And as we continue to vibrate different, I think you're going to see more psychic abilities. In the research, they call it PSI.
Have you
So
guys noticed your
telekinesis
dreams?
and all of that,
Right. And I mean, I've already done a lot of like astral dreaming and remote viewing and just some of the stuff that I've woken up to that I've been trained in. But it's like, how do I say, the lucid dreaming has gotten such to where when I really, really hone into what questions I want and the answers that I'm seeking, I can actually see my guides. We end up like, I look at them. One of them's a young girl, about 12. She's got kind of a strawberry blonde hair. And then there's another boy. I know that there's another one that comes and goes, but those two primarily, like they'll sit down and be like, okay, I'm here to help you.
Mm.
And I'm like looking around going, wait, I know I'm asleep. Oh, I'm lucid. Okay, I got some questions. And I'm like, this is so much fun because I mean, I know I've done that off and on throughout my life, but it's becoming so predictable now that whenever I really relax and get all the chatter shit out of my head, boy, I hone in and it's getting really, really deep. It's fun.
Yeah. And I've noticed that like my youngest daughter, she's sleeping way more. And I thought at first that she was maybe going through kind of a growth spur. She'll take really long. I mean, she doesn't normally take naps, but she's been asleep. She would actually not go to bed at night now. And she seems to rather sleep completely in the daytime, which means she'll go to bed about 4 in the morning and not wake up until 5 at night.
Wow.
And she's
What
literally
about
reversed her
split
sleeping
sleep?
hours. And and then she's literally reversed her sleeping hours. And so it has been causing difficulty for me because now I have to stay up and keep an eye on her.
Yeah, she wants to play all night, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Little
it's been tough on me.
shoot.
So, but I noticed when I'm meditating lately now, I seem to sort of, regardless of whether I feel sleepy or not, even if I feel totally awake, I noticed that I would sort of nod off to sleep. The kind of nod off to sleep like you had a long day, and if you kind of fall asleep on your
So you're
hands,
making
you'll slip off the
serotonin.
table kind of feel. So I've been
Ooh,
having a lot of that lately.
you're doing it though. Remember how you were
Yeah.
saying that you were having a hard time connecting with the meditation?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if a lot of us are starting to hemisync more because
Yeah.
I can do that whenever I get into
Like
my
not
meditation.
off to
My
that not off
hemisync.
to sleep where that not off to
Right,
sleep,
right.
while you're trying to meditate, sitting up, and it's like you catch yourself.
Well, when you get a real good hemisync, you get
Yeah.
serotonin, dopamine, and DMT, and it's an amazing experience. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel refreshed and rested, and you just feel good.
One of the things I've been noticing lately is a intense intense feeling of weightlessness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like feeling as if you can levitate, if you will. And this actually happened to me while I was walking home, and I was like, I got all like unbalanced because I was thinking like like you were saying, different laws of physics at that moment. Like it was like funny because it felt like I could actually balance myself, but you're not like flailing around like wait a minute, I kind of know how to control this without even trying to actually understand that.
That's
And
really
meanwhile,
cool.
meanwhile you just see like birds flying over. You're like, one day I'll join you, and I'll beat you in a race.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just been a thought that I've had lately.
Well, think about it. I mean, there have been some yogis in India and elsewhere who've been able to levitate.
Yeah.
So, our possibilities are literally limitless,
Well, and even predictions from people that I guess have read sacred texts, or I don't even know how they're getting the predictions on this side of it, the spiritual predictions of like when we shift and like with the polar flip and what every 26,000 years, like there's this great awakening and people ascend up to a higher plane. becoming masters of whatever energies.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people are going to be having what most people would think would be like superhero powers,
Yeah.
We
you
have
know?
that. It's a vibration change. It's like you know how our grasses are starting to get green. We still have yellow patches everywhere in our backyard from the winter. I would
Mhm.
actually stand on one of the yellow patches and I would ground and shield, but then I would put, you know, my healing chakra back into the ground in that whole patch. And it actually within minutes it would start turning green.
That's so cool.
I've been having, you know, been able to change my grass over. And I've
Nice.
never done that before, so it will turn green where I walk.
So that's awesome. You're really
Yeah,
connecting with Mama Gaia. I love
yeah.
that.
Thank you. So that's there's things that we can do. You know, if we
Absolutely.
connect, we absolutely it's just all about your connection.
Mhm.
And
One
I'm
of
not
the things,
talking about connections like credit, you know, credit card connections and business card connections. No, this is like a totally different type of connection. You know, we're talking about energetically
like
connecting.
moving the weather or changing patterns, I've noticed, like
Oh, I
family.
love how you can poke holes in the clouds.
I've freaked a few people out doing that.
I think that's awesome.
It's kind of fun. Sometimes I just want a nice sunny day when I'm riding my bike. Dang it, you can rain later.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Shoot.
Yep.
So yeah, all of us has to find ways to find our point in connection. And Dr. Bloom, I think we one time talked about how everybody is growing in different ways and different rates too. So we can't go comparing each other and saying, "Hey, well, how come you can do
Right.
this? Why can I do that?" Or you know, and because we're all made up differently, you know, and so we have different rates. What did you talk about that one time, Alex? We were
Well,
talking.
and also, part of it depends like on our soul contract, right? Like when we come in here, essentially, at least as Neil Donald Walsh describes it, that like we choose a theme. And so it's like his metaphor was, think about when you're painting a picture, you usually have a particular like hue or palette range that you're painting those colors with for your picture. And so those bases of that color range that you're choosing is kind of the barriers or the limitations, if you will, that you're having when you come into a particular incarnation. But that said, after that, it's up to you. You have the paintbrush and you can paint whatever you want given those colors. So all of us potentially could do anything we want, since it truly is limitless, and we're here just to kind of experience and um, well, experience really is kind of, if we had to summarize the meaning of life in one word. And so part of that, wraps up then into the original idea here, which is like, what is the meaning of life, basically? If we look at the big picture, why are we here? That essentially God, or spirit, source, whatever you want to call it, I call it glue, as you guys know, that it's like it wanted to experience itself. And so it broke off into lots of different fragments, and then it forgot that it was part of the whole. And then it experienced whatever it did at any particular incarnation, and then it brought that experience back to the source, the whole, and was able to have that kind of like a mosaic add to the larger expression of life, of what it means to just be, to exist. And so when all of us are kind of going through particular experiences, I think it's really important for us to kind of keep that in mind, that we play this game where we fall asleep. And so the work here, regardless of what avenue you're pursuing to do that, is about that waking up process to remember. To remember means to put back together again. And
I
so
like that.
I think that's so important for all of us when we're going through those hiccups in life, to kind of fall back on the greater picture. So because we can get so stuck in like the Maya, right? So the illusion of it all, and the drama that's playing out in a particular lifetimes.
And to add a little bit for what Dr. Bloom says, even if you're given specific type of paint, remember you can mix paints. So still
That's right.
don't feel like it's a programming. You can take all the colors
Right.
that you give it and mix and make new colors.
Mix and
And
Exactly.
make
here's
new
another
colors.
thing for all you Star Trek fans out there. know that part of that representation, when you're talking about the whole bunch of fragments of yourself and then, going out into the universe and experiencing, that's very much like how the changelings and the shapeshifters have done it in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the character Odo. The whole shapeshifter community, the people from that world, they took variations of themselves, parts of themselves, and spread it across the universe, the galaxy, or whatever, to learn about it. And those babies would grow up into adult shapeshifters as well, and they would come back, eventually find their way back home, and add to the collective of their experience. So that was their plan. And so the whole point of that was to be able to gain knowledge from everywhere, and it's the same thing with us.
That's it.
All right, well said. I like that example. Really cool.
Yeah. One thing really quick also, people wonder, well, what it's like to have the collective feeling of of like, oh, if you're God or something, or your higher source, or if you're in 7D, 8D, 15D, or whatever density and stuff. What it, to me, from what I understand from my meditations, to what I because I asked that question, what I have been told is what it feels like. We are the scaled down version of it in our own bodies. Have you noticed you have an itch somewhere? Do you notice you feel a little pain somewhere? Do you notice you feel good somewhere in your body,
Right.
in different spots, and you respond? That's the same thing as the universal consciousness. Now spread yourself, expand to the vast areas of the universe, and you can feel a little love here, you can feel war over here, you can feel something kind of headachy over here, you can feel some sort of drama over there, you can feel, in our whole universe, you can feel energy, the energy level of all of that through the entire universe, just like the scaled down version, how we can feel different parts of our bodies at any given time doing whatever it wants to do. So that's what it feels like, being expanded.
Really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Very, very interesting. Oh, really awesome discussions today, guys. This has been cool. I wish we could have had you through the whole thing, Dr. Bloom. Some of the stuff that we've been talking about, it's just been fascinating.
I bet.
Earlier we were
Yeah,
talking
especially
about
Disney. Oh my gosh, Disney,
we were
horrible
talking
stuff.
about
Disney's crumbling.
NPCs.
Yes.
Yep.
Remember what Trump said? Everything woke turns to shit. And
I made that.
Yeah.
I
I
used
love
that
how
quote.
he can talk like that too.
yeah.
Everything
Oh,
woke
also-
transition. That's funny. Love it.
We also talked about the NPC stuff, and I was talking about Blade Runner.
Right, inner dialogues, and like sometimes the loops that we get in our minds. I really like the. Why don't you do the turtle example again, just because I'd like to hear Alex's response.
Okay, so have you ever watched the movie Blade Runner?
Long time ago.
Okay, so in this movie, they have things that are called replicants. So basically, their version of a non-playable character. They
Mhm.
look like humans. They act like humans. They can basically be in a room and not be identified as such.
Mhm.
So they have this test that they use, and it's called the Voight-Kampff test.
Hmm.
And so here's one of the questions, and it goes: you're in a desert, walking along in the sand, when all of a sudden you look down and you see a tortoise. It's crawling toward you. You reach down and you flip the tortoise over on its back. The tortoise lays on its back, and its belly is baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to save itself, trying to turn it over, but it can't. Not without your help. The question is, why aren't you helping? Now, when you have like a replicant, what they would do is that they would totally avoid the question, or they would try to ask or plead or stuff like that. So what's your thoughts on this, Alex?
So
Like
what would
it's a
you do?
trap? Is that kind of what you're saying? Like it's a trap for them to not be able to answer?
Well, like, what
No,
would your
it's
answer be? Like, he's
What's
asking,
your
like,
answer?
if you would be the person
What's your
that's in the
response?
desert, you flipped the turtle over, you're not helping it. How come?
Because it's not having to learn on its own. I don't know.
so so in the movie, while this is happening to one of the replicants, um, the guy keeps on pressuring her. Why did you do this? You did this. What was your reason for doing it? And eventually, this replicant just cracks and goes violent.
Interesting.
So think about, that's why we were asking, what would your answer be, Alex? Like, why would you flip why would you not help the turtle?
Why would you help, or why would you not help?
Why would you not help it?
Why-
You flipped it over. So how come you're not helping it? Because you flipped it over.
Again, the only thing that I can think of is you're wanting it to do it on its own. Like, it's a lack of empathy, right? That you're kind of, I don't know, it's either kind of a two-pronged piece of, like, you're wanting to say, okay, you can do it yourself, I'm going to grant you the experience to do it on your own, or you're lacking heart space and be like, figure it out, you know?
And that's kind of like the way I thought about it, because I have compassion for animals. So
Mhm.
my answer was, okay, so putting myself in that place, I flipped it over. I want to watch and see, can it really flip over?
Mhm. Mhm.
And, eventually I'll help it back, but I might want to watch it struggle for a while just to see, is it going to do it? I've heard about it, because that would be, for myself, the only reason I would flip something over like a
Yeah,
turtle
like
is
curiosity.
because my own morals. And
Mhm.
Alex had an interesting
Yeah,
response.
I actually went on a much more sadistic point of view on this,
Okay.
which is the reason why I flipped the turtle over was I want it for food, and it's baking in the sun, so it's literally just going to cook itself at that point.
And then I
And
thought about, I would want to kill it first, because where I'm empathetic, I would think of like, oh, well, if you're going to use it for food, then wouldn't you want to kill it? Like maybe
and
find a
then
rock and kill it, bash its head, or.
and then and then I countered that by saying, well, I've already flipped it over, so I already have not shown empathy at that point. So I'm not going to give empathy at that point. I want to see it suffer because I already am causing it to suffer.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I don't know. We both like totally branched off on potential theories.
What did
So,
what did the NPCs say in the movie? Like, what was their rationale for melting down?
because so what they said was, I don't know. I can't put myself in that situation.
Hmm.
Or what was the other
That was
answer
what they
that
said.
you did? It was like, I'm trying to remember what you were saying. Like the other answer, like besides not being able to put yourself in the
You
situation.
know what I find intriguing by that, and this is kind of the majority of the time my mind was distracted because I was thinking of the NPCs during Trump, right? And it's like
Mm,
there was so much focus on Orange Man bad, no matter what, that was kind of where
right.
thought went to. And then when I would do this, like on Facebook, I would play dumb, and I would say, I'm confused because here's this, for example, executive order that the president just signed about trying to end human trafficking. And the way I would couch it, I'd be like, I'm confused. Why is this happening? And I don't really see much news being spread on that. And you'd see, just like what you're saying in the movie, total meltdown,
Mm-hmm.
people freaking out, right? Oh my gosh, how do we know this is even real? Or there's got to be some sort of hidden agenda that he's trying to do, or like just this. It was so cognitive dissonant from their fervent emotional belief that it was just fireworks, you know?
I
So,
just had
Like
an
so, and
epiphany.
so
I know some NPCs that have been friends
yeah,
of mine for years
yeah,
because
yeah,
they do that.
yeah,
And it's
exactly.
like
Yeah.
this cognitive dissonance that's so much that they can't even take themselves out. Because I can look at it like, okay, what if Biden was a moral person
Right, right,
and just
right.
what he's doing is trying to stir some shit up so people can see things? I can actually make myself look at it that way, to where, okay, maybe he could do this or this. You know, I can take myself into another position and look at that. That's, you know, I mean, I've voted liberal, I voted libertarian. I've
Is
been
there anything that
supportive
Biden has been done that's positive since he's been in office? Like one thing?
I
You know what I
haven't
mean?
seen it.
Yeah.
But then it's like the cognitive dissonance on different things.
Well,
Like,
he eats
wouldn't
ice
it
cream. Is that positive?
Oh my goodness.
One
Wow.
of the
Oh my
No,
positive
goodness.
things,
You guys,
one
it's
of the
probably full of
positive,
natural flavors.
Ah!
I think
Well,
I think
it's
one
a
of the
dairy product. What can you do?
Yeah.
I
But,
think one
but
of the
go for it, Alex.
I think one of the positive things that it's shown is how incompetent the government is without having people doing things in the background.
That's right.
I mean,
Yeah,
as you can see, nothing is done, and all of a sudden you're just seeing the entire castle collapse upon itself. It's kind of like when you don't do regular maintenance on things. If
Yeah.
you don't do it, it will eventually just corrode
It will melt.
and then eventually fall apart due to apathy, not apathy, due to oh, what's the word? Due to
Not signing up to State Farm?
due to
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And it's interesting when they have those meltdowns, it's like they just you can't reason with them at all. There's no like
No.
bringing them back in and saying, okay, let me see your point. You know, it's like, no, you're no. They're just like,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well,
in the
we've been
mind
having a lot. We've been having a lot of that with the whole Judge Brown Jackson thing. There's a lot of them were trying to be logical. A lot of the people that are on the internet, well, were being logical and saying, well, you know, she believes in these sentences to be less, and that's fine. You know, I'm going, but wait a minute, do you think she's supporting, you know, pedophilia? Do you think she's supporting, you know, and they don't think that she's supporting that. She just believes. And I said, do you know what the child pornography is? Do you know that? I mean, you have to sit there for hours on end. How much of your time are you collecting that many photos and that many videos that your mind is on that subject forever in order to
And
be
you have to go
collecting that
into
much?
the dark universe.
Yeah,
the dark
you
web.
can't just, it's not just going to
Don't
be
just
in, you
Google
know,
it.
yeah, you can't just Google it. It's right up there with the brownie recipes, you know, and stuff like that,
Yeah.
you know, and so it's the fact that they were talking about, well, if it's, you know, mailed in like email or mailed in photos, or now that you can just collect tons of it. And I said, but yeah, but even though those are the facts that you can collect things in an exponential rate, the fact that you're collecting them should already be disturbing. The fact that those things exist should even be disturbing, because how did they make those photos and those videos? Who are they using? It's not CGI. They're using actual kids, and they're being, you know, used in very disgusting, pukey, vomity ways that, you know, I don't even want to think about.
Oh, I mean, even
But they're
besides
putting
that,
logic with it, though.
some of those videos. I mean, I saw part of one. I couldn't continue. I mean, how?
well,
Yeah.
I've never seen one, and I don't want to. But people were putting the same kind of logic, talk, and attitude that Judge Jack was putting in.
Yeah.
Well, that's besides the point. What we're looking at is that, oh, it's okay that we can that you sentence like this. There are federal mandatory minimums on these things.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to go below that.
Yeah.
In the first place, you are violating federal law. It is a disgrace of her being on the bench at that point.
Yeah, I think she should be literally stripped of everything.
Yeah.
Her title, her job.
She is
I don't even know
how
how she kept it this long, you know?
There's no reason a person who's sentenced to 120 months in prison is getting 3 months. No reason whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, and we know why there's a big push to have someone like her be the nominee.
Because they know what's coming down the pipeline.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Did you hear, a side note, I missed obviously the part about Disney, but how they want to remove the term welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they just welcome friends.
Now not, exactly. Friends. and that they're now going to no longer call them princesses.
What are
'Cause
they gonna call them now?
they're neutral, you know. I think ambassadors or something like that, but
Oh my goodness.
I'm
Well,
like,
one of
the stock's already starting to tank in Disney, you know, and the
one of the
CEO was pressured to do this woke BS. And don't you love the double standard that they're going to do it here, but Tokyo and Paris and other, Disney parks across the world, it's all silent, you know.
Mhm.
So,
Well, on top of that, the fact that they're getting rid of their ability to build without having to go through the respective zoning and planning boards. And now, because of that, if their particular law is repealed, you're going to have to, first of all, you're going to have simple engineers in these buildings
yeah,
to make sure they're in code
yep,
and pay any fines that they may have. And and I mean, this is just every building, every tunnel, every tram, every boat, every single structure or moving object that they've had for over 50 years is going to be ripped apart to find out if there's any issue. And they're paying utilities to the respective companies because they didn't have to worry about that, or they were doing everything by themselves.
wow, wow,
So this will be lots of fun. Popcorn moments.
yep, get your
Right?
popcorn.
Oh yeah. It's exciting. Yay!
Hey.
Keep on bringing that disclosure, baby.
Yeah, I think March Madness, I think what was really the beginning, and here we are on the doorstep to a new month, and I think Biden's laptop is just gonna heat up because of all the connections. You know, what's his name? The prior Secretary of State, Pompeo. He tweeted out a few weeks ago. He said, "Do you have your brackets done?" So when you're watching the college basketball, you create kind of brackets of who you think is going to win, and then they do like competitions and whatnot. So that obviously is metaphorical to who's going to be the deep state players that are going to go down first, which is going to be a domino to the next person, you know, because they're going to rat them out. So we'll see. It's huge.
Kind of interesting how they're doing it, like playing a game like that.
Exactly. Yep. And they're revealing it themselves. That's the most beautiful part, right? Like the media, knows what's coming with the indictments with Durham, and so that's why they felt pressure. Like I was talking to my mom last night. I'm like, why now do you think that the laptop is being verified? Like, why now?
Yeah. What are we not supposed to be looking at?
Exactly. That's right.
And also, why is it now that it's been officially in the correctional record? Was it not in the record prior?
Yeah.
Even though we've had many attempts to give it to,
and that they couldn't find it, and the
Yeah.
FBI agents like, we don't know where it is. Like what?
And we're talking about the second person in command of FBI cyber.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, it's this thing. He's playing Ring Around the Rosie and acting like it's not his job to know what's going on with that. Like, dude, this is in your job description.
Yep. And isn't he lying under oath if he says he doesn't know where it is?
Yeah.
I don't know. He might have perjured himself if he was under oath.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's already in trouble with that. Do me a favor, Dr. Bloom. We need to make some bingo cards with all these names and stuff. So as they go down, you can just pound on them. Pound them with stamps,
Good idea.
You guys also heard the other news about another particular case that just came out today. A judge ruled that there will not be a new trial for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Really? I haven't heard about that.
Interesting.
They were trying to get a mistrial, which would overturn the conviction she had.
Wow.
And the judge said, nope, you can go through the appeals, but you're not getting a mistrial.
Good. Yeah, this stuff just needs to get finished. There's so much shit that's just been dragged on and on. You can only beat a dead horse so much. I mean, come on.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Hillary Clinton. It's the same thing with Hillary Clinton. She got a constant amounts of warrants, I believe, for her arrest and stuff like that. And she has done absolutely everything to push that off.
I know. I know.
I don't know how she's walking around in public. Wouldn't that be a good time to drag her? But,
Right. Well, we had the slap in the face the other night to try to get people not looking. It's all so fresh.
yeah,
but
fresh. It's just, how he walks away with his hand in his suit jacket and all that makes you wonder if that was actually a ritual that they did.
it's
Because
another.
because when you get slapped, most people don't keep their hands down and laugh and go, "Oh, I just got slapped." They usually put their hand where they got
They're
hurt or
covering
something like
it
that.
or
Yeah,
crying or falling down or
and he just,
typical.
so it really, really looks staged and everything, which is now somehow that was pushed in every news media and newspaper. I saw the list of how many of them were just covering that.
Yeah.
And now we
Perfect
have more
timing.
important things to cover about,
Right.
So
Perfect
this was
timing.
obviously a distraction.
Yeah. Because what happened the day before? Biden and the fumbling that went on in Poland,
Yeah.
of we need to take Putin out, this is a disgrace. He needs to go. And then
Yeah.
talking about like sending the military to Ukraine, it's like, no, I meant that metaphorically.
Oops, I crapped my pants.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs his nappy cheese and some applesauce, if you ask me.
Tapioca.
Yeah.
Crapioca.
That's funny.
Oh my God. I love
All right,
it.
guys, I got to get going.
Well, it's so
Right.
good having you on. Thank you so
This has
much,
been
guys.
fun.
This has been fun. I hope we can keep doing this and that you can keep coming on. This makes the show even more fun and insightful. And
That's
love you
great.
guys so much.
Love you too.
Love you.
Thank you so much for watching HeartMind Expressions and the Fab Four. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.